Superdad Mr. McCready is climbing the ladder and looking through the castle windows, trying to see his daughter Wendy. I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now. So let's get out of the castle. Let's go down into the dungeons. Let's go beneath the castle. Hi, I'm Michael.
I'm Rob.
I'm Damien.
And this podcast is all about Disney. Each week we look at a different decade and choose a movie from that decade. This week we are looking at a movie from the 1970s. We are looking at a movie called Superdad. Damien, what is the plot synopsis?
When his daughter, Wendy, announces that she'll be staying home to attend a local school rather than moving away to the more highly regarded Huntington College, Charlie McCready assumes that the influence of his daughter's deadbeat friends is to blame. He resolves to change her mind by insinuating himself into her social life and trying to scare off her boyfriend.
Sounds exciting.
Very exciting.
Sounds exciting.
Sounds exciting, but is it? We'll find out. Well, we already know. The listeners will find out how exciting this movie really is. Now it's time to find out our history with Superdad. Rob, what is your history with Superdad?
I have no history, and thank God I have no history with that movie.
Don't give away your review too early. This is one of your favorites?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's up there with Aladdin, with Frozen, with Mulan. It's up there with all of them.
Have you ever heard of this movie before?
Never. When I first drew the name, I thought I read Super Bad. And I was like, wait, Super Bad?
You wish it was super bad.
I wish it was.
I mean, in a way it was.
That's a good one.
That is a good one. Damien, what's your history with this movie?
I have zero history with this movie. And considering how annoying it was to find, I think a lot of people probably have zero history with this movie.
And how about you, Michael?
Yeah, I'm the same. I had no idea this movie existed until we pulled it out of that hat or basket. And I wish we had never pulled it out of that basket. And yeah, this movie was quite difficult to find because it's not on Disney Plus, and it's a bit of a mystery why it's not there. Not too sure, but it is hard to find. So if you do want to watch this movie, you do have to sort of
Find other means.
Find other means.
I mean, maybe Rob will be able to enlighten us as to why it might be not so readily available.
Possibly. Well, I guess let's get into the history of Superdad. It's time for a history lesson with Rob.
And what a history this movie has had. So, it's no wonder why this movie was on a shelf for a year before Disney decided to release it. And fun fact, I bet you didn't know this, the film flopped when it was released.
Shocker.
It flopped.
This movie?
Yeah, I know.
This movie?
This one, the very one we watched.
Yeah, it flopped. I would not expect this movie to flop.
Were they people crazy?
I don't
We don't know anything.
Fun fact about two of the actors in this movie, Kathleen Cody and the one and only Kurt Russell also played boyfriend and girlfriend in the same year in Charlie and the Angel. And another actor, as well as Kurt Russell, Nicholas Hammond, they appeared in the Quentin Tarantino movie Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So, the lead character and his family are called McCready, which also happens to be the name of one of the other actors, Ed McCready. One of Kurt Russell's iconic roles was McCready in The Thing. So that's a lot of McCreadys going on in one thing.
Too many McCreadys.
Too many McCreadys. Ed Begley Jr., who plays one of Kurt Russell's friends, played an interview in the Bob Crane biopic Autofocus, in 2002. And speaking of that autofocus, there was a biopic made about the life and death of the lead actor Bob Crane. Greg Kinnear, who played Crane in the biopic, enacts a couple of scenes from Superdad. I actually want to see that. I really want to see that.
Yeah, I want to watch that movie for two reasons. Because I think it would actually be a very interesting movie, but also yeah, to see the Superdad scenes.
We need to have a movie night
I guess it's
again.
I think it's quite a dark movie. I don't know if we want to watch it together, but because the lead actor in this is what's his name? Bob Crane?
Yeah, Bob Crane.
Yeah.
Who's probably best known for Hogan's Heroes.
Yes.
And that's where I know him from. And I guess this movie came out after Hogan's Heroes was cancelled, and he had an interesting life that we can't go into this podcast.
He had a very interesting life. If you want to know about his life, just look him up and then you'll see all the information that you want about his interesting life. Maybe that's why it was so hard for us to find, because maybe they've just gotten rid of everything to do with Bob Crane.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reason that it's not on Disney Plus.
That and just the low popularity of it.
I mean, no one's missing it.
Yeah, you're not missing anything.
No, it existed until a couple weeks ago.
So back to the history. So during the water ski scene, which is one of the greatest scenes in the movie, the Bruno Kirby character is filming Bob Crane's character. When they are watching the film in the latest scene, it is simply the scene from the movie complete with edits and slow motion effects instead of what the character would really have filmed. That's why we're like, wait, how was he able to film that?
Yeah, they had multiple cameras apparently.
Apparently
editing
he has one long tripod.
Yeah, it's good filming.
So after its theatrical release, it appeared on The Wonderful World of Disney. To date, it has not been widely released on DVD, but it was only made exclusive to members of the Disney Movie Club in that format. Why am I a member of that club? I need to join that Disney Movie Club if it still exists.
Just to get Superdad.
Just to get Superdad. Another reason why it might have flopped is because who was in charge of Disney at that time, who is Ron Miller, who was Walt Disney's son-in-law. So Miller had the technical know-how of how to run a company, but not the genius of picking the right properties and targeting the audience the way Disney did. So basically what Miller adopted was just what would Walt do policy. And the result was mostly negative. So he wasn't... so even though he said what would Walt do, he never did what Walt Disney did. That's why I believe that this film flopped as well, because he wasn't thinking for himself. He was thinking what will Walt do, and no one could have the genius mind that Walt Disney did.
He didn't have that creative spark that Walt had.
Yeah.
No one has that.
And that was the history lesson about Superdad.
I guess now that we've gone through the plot, the history, I guess it's time to actually dive into this movie.
Yay!
Once upon a time, there was a movie called Superdad. And this movie starts off, I mean, I'm already worried. It starts off with a song. It's "These Are the Best Times," and it's basically slow-mo of this couple on a beach. This is not.
The song was in slow-mo.
It's like the song is so slow, and it just has this weird. You want a fun beachy song. You want fun Disney song to start the movie, and this is not that. This is the opposite. How were you feeling at this time, Damien? Confident?
That movie, that song set the kind of the expectation for the entire film. I think from that moment we just knew, like, we regret this decision. We picked wrong. We made the wrong choice. Can we go back and undo it, please?
Yeah. Because once we have this, we have the credits over the song, and then right after that we have Mr. McCready is dreaming, and then we get this nightmare of him dreaming of his little girl, and this is like something out of a Nightmare on Elm Street. Like,
Right.
like it's not intended to be creepy, but I mean it is.
There's a scene where he has like two girls, and as everyone knows, when you have twins side by side, they're under the age of like 6. That's usually horror movie stuff.
And that's The Shining.
That's The Shining.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is this is a very interesting start, and we basically, this is setting up. He's dreaming. This is his little girl growing up, and she's meeting Bart, and then she's meeting her other friends. Who Mr. McCready, he hates all these guys because he thinks they're, you know,
Good for nothing bums who ain't got no future.
exactly. But I mean, I don't think the movie sets that up very well, because they're very polite young teenagers.
Like, they don't do anything illegal. They just go to the beach and have fun.
Yeah,
Maybe a bit more carefree than the adults are. But
yeah, but
they don't do anything in the movie to warrant being like hated so much.
No. If you want to set up these kids are bad, you got to have them doing something.
Drinking and partying and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I know this is Disney, so they, you know, Disney's always you can't do too much. But these guys are, you'd be happy to bring any of these guys home. Or get these guys home, right?
Yeah, I'll be happy for any one of them to date my daughter.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Stanley?
Especially Stanley.
Hey, Stanley's good. He loses a job, finds a job so fast. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into Stanley. Well,
let's get into Stanley.
Hey, Mr. McCready.
Mr. McCready. How's it going, Mr.
Stanley's
McCready?
auditioning for Mickey.
Now, there's a fun like running gag with Stanley that sort of goes through the whole movie, where every time you see him, he has a different job. And this was something that the only thing you look forward to in this movie is to have Stanley come back into a scene and see what job he's doing. He just, like, I lost count how many jobs he had. I mean, what, half a dozen or so, right? Maybe more.
I think it was more than 6.
It's great.
Yeah, it's hands down the best thing about the movie.
I mean, I would want to have like a Stanley spin-off. Just follow Stanley. And it's not only that, the gag of him having all the jobs and every scene is a different job. It's also his voice is. How do we describe his voice?
It's like a deep voice and a bunch of helium every time they talk.
He's a high.
He carried it.
He did. Well, we have Wendy and her friends. They're driving home from the beach, and you got Kurt Russell, who is Bart. He's like laying the surfboard is hanging out of the back of this van, and he's laying back on the surfboard, and they're all in the van singing this song. And at this point, I'm like, okay, this could be good. This is kind of, you know, they're singing a song, and this has a cool like beach kind of feel to it, like those old beach movies from the 60s, which I've seen a few of them. They're pretty good. I was hoping it would be more like that, but this is kind of the last song in this movie. really.
Mm.
Until right at the end at the wedding when we hear the choir boys. But I'm not,
Yeah, I
I'm
think
not including that.
at that point we were questioning if this was going to be a musical or something.
Well,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, it's Disney, so you assume, okay, we're going to put some songs in here. But no, this
Oh.
this is the last one. And it's kind of what I feel about this movie. It's a bit, the tone is sort of all over the place at times, what it wants to be. This like silly sort of Disney comedy, and then there's like this, I don't know, this drama of
A
his,
serious dramatic undertone to it.
yeah,
It's like what Damien said to me. They just grabbed a whole bunch of stuff, threw it against the wall, and whatever stuck, they put into the plot of the movie,
yeah.
regardless if it fit or not towards the plot.
Well, then you got Mr. McCready,
Oh, Bob Crane.
Bob Crane. Look, how do you feel he did in this role?
Well, I've seen him in Hogan's Heroes, and he was really good in Hogan's Heroes. So,
I feel like he
Yeah.
played the role really serious though.
Mm.
Like he played it like you'd expect from like a dramatic, strict dad.
Yeah, I liked Hogan's Heroes, and I thought he was good in that. But I think he's miscast in this movie. I don't think he's the right person for that role. I think if we had someone else, it could have been better. Possibly, we don't know. But I just think he was miscast, and I think the
But
tone.
that scream. That scream.
That's
oh
great.
my god, he's scream.
He had the scream. Well, before we get to that, we see Mr. McCready watching a program that is telling him he should get involved with his daughter's life. That's, parents of that time, they're not getting involved in their kids' lives, and so he decides to go with Wendy to the beach with her and her friends. And this is where we get the first kind of silly stuff going on in this movie, and this was quite good as well. Like, I thought this could possibly lead to something. Um, so you have him like playing volleyball with the kids, and he's pretty terrible. And then you have him playing football, and this is where we first hear his epic scream. He basically gets the ball and then gets rushed by like a dozen guys.
Yeah.
Then he runs into the water. He's like this,
I could do it. I could do it.
and then he gets completely smashed by a wave. And you hear his scream again. So this is good stuff, right?
It's comedy gold.
I mean,
The thing is, like, is it funny because it's funny? Is it funny because it's bad? Is the thing.
I think
Like,
it's
sort of
funny
the
because
really
it's bad.
false thing where I don't know how to tell if like I'm enjoying this because it's funny or because like up to this point I was watching it with you guys, and so it was just sort of ludicrous, I guess. So painful you have to laugh.
yeah, but it was giving us some comedy, which is good. Like,
Yeah,
up to that point, we weren't really getting much to sort of grasp onto. And then they go water skiing. And this is a pretty good shot of him on the water skis, just lots of water flying to his face, doing his scream.
definitely not from a hose.
Definitely not. And then for some reason there's a ramp in the water. I don't know why there'd just be like this ramp in the water for absolutely no reason. And somehow the kids, accidentally he flies up the ramp, and and then that's basically the end of that whole thing. And then they're watching the video later that night, I believe. That's what I find about this movie. Like, things happen and then it's just over. It's like,
Hmm.
There's no like flow to it.
yeah, there's
It's
a
like
weird,
just a bunch of things that happen, jump, skip across the events.
yeah. Like, I kind of feel like they could have done more with those scenes. I've been like thinking about it, And you know how like these days Disney, they remake all these great movies. Like you remake Aladdin, but if you remake Aladdin, you can't beat the original Aladdin because the original one's perfect. Why aren't they remaking Superdad? Because why not remake something that didn't really work and then rewrite it.
It's better.
Make it better.
Yeah.
There's so much room to grow with the story and the ideas there versus something that's already perfect.
I think there's some ideas there.
But remember, think like Disney. Because Aladdin animated made him so much money, they were like, let's cash in on that, remake it, bring it to a whole new audience, and we'll still make even more money.
I understand business sense. You look at what works and then do that again. It doesn't make sense to go, okay, this movie completely flopped. Let's make that again. Like, I know it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But I would like to. I think they could make a Superdad and make it better.
Yeah.
I mean, it couldn't be worse. After this, they're watching the movie at home, and the dad's in his bed, and then his wife is like feeding him black soup.
But wait. You what? The funny thing about it is, the soup in the bowl looks black, but when he's eating the soup, it's water.
It's weird.
Yeah, we were like, okay, is she feeding him water? And then we noticed the bowl. We're like, what?
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Wendy is having a birthday party at home but she wants to go out and have a birthday party, but Mr. McCready, he wants her to have it at home so he can keep an eye on her and the kids. And this is a running thing that he likes to keep an eye on Wendy and the kids. Mainly Wendy. So they're downstairs, right? And he goes downstairs, and what are they doing?
They're dancing.
Dancing
To no music.
No, not just dancing, they're slow dancing as well.
It's weird because they were playing music and then they turned the music off.
Stanley turned off the music and the lights.
Why did Stanley turn off the music? I
He
understand.
was going to go take out, but he didn't. He went to understand instead.
Yeah.
Who Mr. McCready then trips over as well in the podcast.
Yeah, because he was so shocked by them dancing that he fell down the stairs, tripping over Stanley. I mean, he's worried about this group of friends, and all they're doing is slow dancing.
I say they are a very nice group of friends.
They are.
Yeah, very well respecting, behaving. Even like, it's late, they turn the music down. Let the parents sleep.
Exactly. Anyway, moving on. So then also, this is just like a point that doesn't really go anywhere. But the dog next door hates Mr. McCready and continuously barks at him. There has no point. There's many things in this that just don't do anything or have a purpose. That's one of them. Just this hatred this dog has for Mr. McCready.
So notice how they couldn't get the dog to stop barking.
He does.
They're trying to record some of the lines in the morning, and like the dog just keeps barking in the background, and you can see the woman like trying to shush the dog.
Yeah, but I think that's part of it. The dog hates Mr. McCready so much, even she can't stop him from barking.
It might not actually be Mr. McCready that he hates. It might be Bob Crane that he hates.
Maybe he hates being on the set.
Maybe.
My career could have been something instead of this.
He wasn't a fan of Hogan's Heroes?
The
dog's not a fan of Hogan's Heroes?
No, not at all.
That's a role.
Anyway, so this is the sort of the second half of the movie where we get into the other plot is that she is going to City College with her friends and Bart, and Miss McCready doesn't want that. He wants her to go to Huntington College. So he sort of pays his way for her to get into the college. Basically, what happens because he's a lawyer. There's a whole nother thing going on with him and that guy.
What is it?
Yeah. But like that whole thing is never actually explained or like really explored at all, really. Like there's a couple of scenes here and there. But so just like this floating thing in the background.
Yeah. It's very unclear what's going on, like what exactly the problem is with this client of his at the start. We kind of get a little bit more at the end. But we'll get to that part. So he gets her into this college. So she goes to the college before him. He was going to go with her, Mr. McCready. But Wendy goes there first with Bart. He drives her up there. And then he's like, oh, I have to go up there because he needs her to talk to a certain person. Is that right?
Yes.
So he's going up there and he goes to the dorm. And what happens? What's going on in this dorm?
Right. They're having a party. See, these are bad people.
Yes. He sent her to a college with bad people.
I think that's one of the things I didn't like about that scene was the older woman. But I feel like they could have done it better because like she's playing pool and drinking something. I think they allude to the idea that there's like booze maybe, but they never actually show it to be booze or like in any way.
Alcohol in a Disney movie?
Then you've also got the dude running around with the two chicks playing Ramses or something.
Yeah.
Playing what?
I don't know what he's doing, but he's just chasing them around the room.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
weird. And you got the old lady who runs the dorm who's like playing pool with the students.
She is. And then she won't let Mr. McCready see his daughter because it's after 10 o'clock. It's 10:15. And so he gets booted. But then what does Mr. McCready decide to do? He doesn't want to give up there, does he? Rob?
Rob, what's he do, Rob?
What does he do?
What does he do? What does he think would be a good
He
idea?
decides to grab a ladder and climb up the ladder, thinking that it's his daughter's room, but it's not his daughter's room. He's like, Peeping Tom! Peeping Tom!
What?
Why do you think
that's his daughter's room? There's no reason why that would be.
It was upstairs. That's it.
Yeah, so she pushes the ladder away and he falls off the ladder, lands on a trampoline, and then flips into a pool.
I give him a 10 out of 10 for that stunt.
I give him 7 dwarfs out of 7 dwarfs for that stunt. Not the movie, don't get me wrong. Let's not put that in there. Just for that stunt.
Just the stunt. We must clarify that.
So he gets arrested. We don't see any of this. We see him coming out of the jail. This is the thing about this movie as well. I'm kind of never really sure about how much time has passed between scenes. Like, is this happening all within 1 week? Is it been a few weeks? Is it a few months? Like, it's never really clear. Do you guys kind of get that sense? You don't really know how long?
Especially when it gets towards the end, which we'll talk about later, but that also has that same feel to it.
Mr. McCready doesn't like Bart. And, I mean, who couldn't like a young Kurt Russell?
I know, I like the young Kurt Russell. He's pretty cool.
He's very cool. And, but Wendy comes home from college and she brings a guy friend, Roger.
Oh, Roger.
It's Roger. Well, prim and proper.
Yeah. And this doesn't seem to go anywhere. This is the only scene with Roger. And then
Like, even mentioning, talking about anything, it only exists in this scene.
yeah. And then this is where Wendy finds out that he paid to get her into the college because Kurt Russell comes to confront Bob Crane, and Wendy overhears them talking. And because of the reason is she only found out 2 days before
Before it
Class
started.
before it starts, but usually it's 2 weeks before. So then we go into another scene where there's protesters at the docks, and this is where we meet Clutch.
There's 2 different protests happening though.
What's the two?
Yeah. There's the workers protesting, and then there's environmentalists protesting the boats in the harbour.
And
I didn't even notice that.
And Mr. McCready, he's client that we've seen earlier, he owns these boats, and they're all watching him and Mr. McCready, and then his partner are watching it on TV. And this is where we find Clutch is being interviewed, and then Wendy keeps popping up, so she's there as well. She's gone off
What about me? What about me?
Yeah, she's gone off the rails.
At first, I thought it was like a messed up filming or something, because she was like so like hardly visible the first time.
Well, what we find out then is Wendy got engaged to Clutch. How would you describe Clutch? What we?
The polar opposite of Bob Ross.
He's a painter, like Bob Ross.
But he's angry. So angry. Also, he seems to believe giving a painting to someone is the equivalency of marriage.
Yeah.
And that you can't undo giving a painting to someone.
Well, this is where Mr. McCready has to get the painting back to Clutch, because Wendy doesn't want to really get married to this guy. So he's...
Before we move on, I just want to take us back to when they actually have like the dinner thing with her dad and her mum. And her mum's like already there. And he comes in and she goes to him, she's got a little problem.
Yeah.
Did you both also think she's pregnant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because the look on his face at that moment was like,
Yeah.
that one moment that actually made me laugh was when he like point blank sits down and he's like, so he got a little problem. Like no build up or anything, just straight into it. He actually got a genuine laugh out of me.
Yeah. That scene wasn't too bad. Yeah. Yeah, so after that, he's got the painting and he's in a taxi and he's holding the painting outside the taxi. And then it flies off, obviously, because he's holding a painting outside of a taxi. And it lands in front of a tram. And then it gets basically run over. And it's now in 2 pieces. And then he takes that and Clutch, he lives down in the docks with the boats and stuff.
Boat peoples.
The boat, he's a boat person. And this is where we have... Hey?
Bodie McBoatface. Yeah,
Bodie McBoatface. And then we have a bit of a fight between Clutch and Mr. McCready. And how did you guys enjoy this?
It was funny.
I actually liked Clutch because he was just weird. It was like funny weird. Like bad, like kind of bad. Like I don't know if he was meant to be a serious character or not, but came across as just weird. But it's kind of the vibe I got.
Well, he's fighting Mr. McCready, and every time they fight, he would wreck like one of his art pieces. Like all the art things around him keep breaking and
Raging him
making him even angrier.
to the point where he attempts to commit murder.
Yes.
In a Disney movie.
He points
Yeah.
a gun at his Mr. McCready.
Yeah,
But luckily, it was full of paint.
yeah.
Luckily, it was
But
a
he
paint
did take a giant spiked bat and try and cave him in with it.
That's true. That is true. But then Bart saves the day. Basically, he comes down and he punches Clutch onto a boat of fish, and then he floats away. Well, this is where we find out as well. The reason that Bart knew that you get accepted into the college, Huntington College, 2 weeks before, is because he actually got accepted into that college, and
Not the actual scholarship.
yeah, he got a scholarship, but he turned it down because he wanted to be with Wendy.
What a nice guy.
He's the nicest guy. So this is where Mr. McCready kind of realizes he's made a mistake, I guess, and that this Kurt Russell's a pretty top bloke. He's pretty good.
I know he is. He's pretty top bloke.
Oh, and so then we have a wedding when Wendy's getting married.
This is what I was talking about with that whole like not having a scale of time.
No,
Like, it went straight from like that scene to a wedding the next day, a month, 6 months, a year.
It takes one day to plan a wedding.
Learning, like they drop out of school.
it was later that day, Damien.
Yeah,
It was later that day.
It's like a week. It's over a couple of days.
This whole movie's set in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's it. You just don't know how long things have been. Things are just happening, one scene to another, and
Doesn't help them age at all either. So there's no like you can't even use the people as a continuum for it.
no, we just know that Stanley has a different job every time we meet him.
Yeah. This time it's delicatessen.
Mm. And then they're going to be late for the wedding. They tell the driver to speed up, and then he tries to go around a truck, and then he runs into Stanley, who's got his van just on the road, stopped.
We don't find out why either.
I think he's run out of petrol or something, because he's got a can. So I think he might have been filling up petrol. It's not really explained. A lot of things in this movie just don't get explained, and you got to work it out yourself.
Little things that just happen.
Yeah. So they get into the back of Stanley's van and they take off to the wedding. And this movie just keeps on going. At this point, I'm just like, why is this not over yet?
I know, right?
Why are things still happening?
I got up to that
Get to
point.
the end.
Having watched this in like 2 settings because I only watched the start and a little bit of the end with you guys, and I had to watch the rest myself. And I got up to that part, and I was just like, "Oh God, there's still like 20 minutes left."
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
This wedding part should have been like, okay, she's getting married. She's at the wedding place. She gets married, and
It's done.
done. But it's
Happily
like
ever after.
correct.
Bye.
You got the priest going, where's the bride? He's like, I got another wedding in 5 minutes. This has never happened before. He's booked weddings too close together. I think he's
He's never hosted a wedding before.
Yeah, I think it's on him.
Yeah. I was there, I would say, well, that's a you problem for booking weddings too close together.
That's right. But in saying that, we don't know how long it's been. We don't know how late they are. They could be half an hour late. They could be 5 days late. We don't even know.
The only time frame ever given is when they have the accident. They mention that she's 10 minutes out from the church.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's the only time any time frame is shown.
So and then you got her. This is where it's just like I'm losing my mind because they're going down the aisle and they're having this conversation back and forth. I'm like, oh my god, this is like it's just dragging. And then you've got the altar boys coming out and singing. Do you even remember this?
No.
Damien, you should remember it. You just watched it.
I didn't watch the ending again though.
You didn't watch
I
the
only watched the bit that I hadn't watched with you guys. I've already repressed half of that. I'm slowly deleting it as we talk about it from my memory.
You know, I did this podcast to torture Rob. This was the whole point.
Backfired.
I'm the only one who watched it twice.
Yeah, you're torturing yourself, my friend.
It's backfired.
Yeah.
But no, we're at the end now. They get married and that's it. You guys want to say anything else?
And they lived happily ever after.
Hey, that's my line.
Did they live forever or was it like 2 minutes and the world ended? Who knows?
And yes, they did all live happily ever after. And that was Superdad. All right, and now it's time to rate this movie. How many dwarfs do you give this movie out of 7? Damien?
Now, just to clarify, can we give 0 dwarfs?
No.
Like 7. No, you can't give. You got to give at least 1.
And 7. Oh, no. I'm going to give it a 2. It gets a bump up just because of Stanley. If 1 is the bare minimum we can give it, I'm giving it a 2.
Okay. 2.
And that 1 star is purely Stanley. Just
Damien,
because of Stanley.
you didn't enjoy this movie? This masterpiece?
Did you?
We'll find out.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how my rating holds up against you guys.
Rob. And Rob, you can't give negative numbers.
Damn it.
I give it 7.
Well, I'm pretty sure you know what my rating is going to be. 1. It gets a 1. I tried. I tried to enjoy it. As much as there were funny stuff and as much as I liked Stanley, I can't do it. I can't give it more than a 1. I feel like I physically cannot do it.
Yeah.
How about you, Michael? What's your rating?
I am same as Damien. I'm going to give this a 2.
Ooh.
Purely because of Stanley.
That's not a good number. For 2 reasons, yeah. 1 for Stanley, and I'll give 1 to Kurt Russell because he was pretty good in this as well. So for those 2 reasons, but I mean, this movie, it's just so boring. Like it's just dull. I mean, there's like little elements in it where it's like, okay, the beach scenes were kind of good. You need more of that stuff in it, and like when he's doing the peeping Tom stuff, you you need to do. It needs a bit more of a build up, or it needs more of a gag at the end.
Extravagance to it.
More gags, I think, and there wasn't
Like
enough.
if they had like, let's say all the cops rocking up and like maybe a huge scene happening with him getting arrested or something.
Yeah, you need something like that.
Or even have it end up being a dude or something in the window and he gets his clock knocked out or something.
Yeah, he goes into the window, and he thinks it's his daughter, but then it's the old woman.
Yeah.
And she just starts beating him with a stick or something. Yeah.
This is the problem I've had. Like, there's so much potential in it with a lot of the stuff that happened that just kind of went short.
This is why I think if they did a remake, you could improve on it because there were little potential parts and you could build on those. So yeah, it wasn't executed properly. That's basically it. And I think Bob Crane wasn't the right person for the part. I mean, if you had the absent-minded professor
in this role, yeah.
I mean, instant improvement.
It may have gotten a 2 from me.
He actually would have been
They've
perfect.
gotten
He's
a
not that
3.
father kind of figure, you know. Anyway.
I guess we'll see when we eventually pull Son of Flub off.
All right, let's Superdad, and so find it if you can, and don't blame us. Tell us how you feel about the movie if you get a hold of it and can watch it.
We accept no responsibility for any time you lose watching this.
Yes. Anyway, now it's time to find out what movie we'll be watching next week. And it is our special Halloween episode. Okay.
Can we please have a rundown of which movies are in here, Michael?
Okay, so the problem with Disney and Halloween is they don't have a lot. So basically we have Nightmare Before Christmas, which arguably could be a Christmas movie.
It's both.
It's both, I think. So if we don't pull it up to today, it's going to go into the Christmas. And we have Hocus Pocus, and then we also have The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy, not the Muppets. And what are you hoping for?
Any of them 3.
Actually, I kind of would like maybe not Nightmare, because we kind of always end up watching that anyway. So it'd be nice to watch something I don't watch as often.
I want Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, I kind of want Hocus Pocus.
I really like Hocus Pocus. How about you, Michael?
I also want Hocus Pocus.
Yes.
Because I haven't.
Can we do it?
I haven't watched Hocus Pocus for a long time, so it'd be good to watch it. But you know that now that we've all said Hocus Pocus, we're definitely not going to get Hocus Pocus.
Wait, so is Damien just going to draw the movie, and that's the movie that we're watching?
That's it.
Power's in my hands.
Come on, Hocus Pocus.
Oh, is that 1 or 2? That's 2.
Oh dear.
I swear if the one you put back is Hocus Pocus, we're watching that one. What is it?
Are they all the same thing, Michael?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, they are, yes.
Haunted Mansion.
Right, what was the second one?
Oh no.
You know how I said I grabbed 2?
Yeah.
The one you put back was Hocus Pocus.
No, I didn't grab Hocus Pocus at all. I
Ah,
only grabbed the 2 instead, which is not what I grabbed. So it's Eddie Murphy in a very old movie for us. Not so old, but
well, so that will be our special Halloween episode, The Haunted Mansion with Eddie Murphy. Should be good. I've never seen it, so I'm actually looking forward to this.
have
I've
you
seen it once, but I can't remember it.
I've actually seen it a few times. I can actually kind of remember it. So.
All right, and now it's time for How Disney Are You? And today, I believe Damien will be asking the questions.
But before I do, Rob, can we get a point update?
Okay, so as we all expected, the person in the lead is me on 6, Michael on 5, and Damien on 2.
All right, question 1. Now, before I ask the question, I will not require you to get the exact number. Being within a ballpark will be acceptable. There are also 2 different possible answers. How many balloons did Mr. Fredrickson use to make his house go up? There are 2 answers. There's one for the takeoff scene, and there's one for when he's floating. Either one is correct, and within a close number will be accepted.
Robbo.
Yeah, Rob?
I want to say 458.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
I will give you a hint if Michael gets it wrong. I will be fair. It is kind of a hard one.
I'm going to say 1,101.
That is also incorrect. All right, I'm going to narrow it down to a range, and that range is 10,000 to 30,000. Disney did actual research on helium and balloons and the weight of a house. They got an actual house movers to estimate the weight of his house to kind of calculate how many balloons they would actually need.
Michael. So it's between 10,000 and 30,000.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 25,000.
I will be giving it to
Don't I get another guess?
Rob. Take one more guess. Michael is close.
Don't tell him
He's
that.
had the closest guess.
He never said if it's above or below.
Yeah. I use close very sparingly as well.
26,872.
I'm going to give it to Michael as he got the closest. The liftoff scene used 20,622 balloons. When he's floating, they use 10,297.
Huh. Okay, so that puts Michael on 6. Ooh, we're drawn now.
Now, question 2. I'm really going to test you guys and see how your history and knowledge is. What was Mickey Mouse's first spoken word?
Robbo?
Yep. Rob?
Oh, hi, Minnie Mouse.
You got to do it in a Mickey voice.
Oh, hi, Minnie Mouse. Hello.
Okay. Is that right?
It is not.
Let me have a guess. Get off my boat.
That is also incorrect.
Okay.
I'll give you a hint, give you another chance. His first words were also food.
Michael.
Michael.
Hot dog.
Yep. That was Mickey Mouse's first spoken words.
Hot dog.
Yeah, you can hear it now, can't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
That puts Michael on 7.
Oh.
And finally, for a plot explained badly, a girl is kidnapped by a witch and falls in love with a known fugitive.
Robbo.
Rob got that?
Tangled.
Yeah. Points
7 a.m.
tied.
We're tied.
7-7. All right, you can find us on Facebook at Beneath the Castle. Please go to soundcloud.com/Beneath the Castle, or you can find us on Spotify and listen to the show. There's heaps of episodes up there now, heaps of awesome episodes you can go back and listen to. And if you not only want to hear us, you want to see us as well, you can go to the YouTube page, Beneath the Castle. And remember, we have new episodes every Monday morning at 10 a.m. 10 a.m.
Australian time.
Australian Sydney time. And so next week we're going to have the Halloween special, but then right after that, during that week, we are going to drop the Monsters Inc. special as well, because it's their anniversary. Can you believe it?
Looking forward to that. I can't believe it.
It's the 20th anniversary, isn't it?
20 years ago. Can you believe it?
No. Because that means
That means you're
No.
old.
That means I
Well,
was 9. That means I was 9 when the movie came out.
I was 8.5.
I was older than both of you.
You can't sit with us, Damien, as soon as I turn 30.
Then
He's
Michael
got-
can't sit with you.
That's to sit at the kids' table. All right, that's the end of the show. Thanks for listening or watching. And remember, growing old is mandatory, but growing up is optional. Good night.
Good night.
All right.